everyone. I thought putting together a short video would help share the progress that we have made in the work to prevent violent extremism through a multi-pronged collaborative approach. I'll begin with a quick recap. So fast backwards to February 2017, the Chief of Police, the Mayor's Office, Yasir Naqvi, the then MPP, and Alex Munter, the Chair of OLIP Network, they approached United Way looking for a mechanism, number one, to respond to groups and organizations that are active in preventing hate crime through diversity and inclusion and integration of services. Number two, to find ways to support and champion that particular work. Number three, to engage those who are not currently involved. And four, to engage passive supporters who need information and opportunity. And finally, number five, to identify disenfranchised and vulnerable groups who stand in opposition to efforts at diversity and inclusion. So anyway, United Way took the charge, and since then the work is happening slowly but surely. We believe to be at the very early stage of coming up with a framework and a structure for a collective impact initiative that will help us achieve the common agenda of preventing hate crimes here in Ottawa and dealing with violent extremism as well. So the key to success lies in evolving a collective impact through the We First approach. There is a critical role for everyone, and no one individual or no single organization or a department within any organization can achieve the impact that we all want to see. So putting We First will help us see the bigger picture and the kind of framework that we need to achieve the desired impact. So fast forward 2 years to the end of 2018. We are having several one-on-one conversations with the partners. We have had several focus group discussions and a group of key stakeholders, 24 key stakeholders, which include agencies from the community, so social service sector, from faith organizations, from law enforcement, from different human rights organizations. So we are meeting. We have met quite a few times, and what we have come up with so far, identification of the key issues. I would say key issues, partners in the sector, programs and interventions. I would say programs and activities. So here we have the community. Here we have the community. So in terms of the partners and key stakeholders, I would say, we have the faith organizations, we have the social service agencies, we have the funders, we have the different levels of government, and then we have the law enforcement agencies. So these are the key stakeholders. In terms of the key issues, there's kind of a continuum that starts with the youth in the communities, which are kind of disorganized, and they do unplanned activities. They're just opportunistic, and that's their age, and they get into different kinds of petty issues just because of the lack of activities or lack of programming for them. They get into break and enters or kind of joining different groups and try to be a cool crowd or seemingly a gang. So there are those kinds of problems. Like kids just being stupid, kids being unoccupied, getting influenced by others. And then as time passes, some of those kind of graduate into a bit more organized crime, and ultimately they end up into, some of them end up into taking some extreme actions, including violent actions, and maybe someday someone participate in some kind of terrorist activities as well. So this is a continuum, right? So this begins with this early prevention so this is the early prevention to the criminal justice, right? So this is a continuum of these issues, right? In terms of the response, I would say, in terms of the response, all these partner agencies, social service agencies, some of the faith organizations as well, and funders are supporting those programs. So there are several programs which are targeting youth in all these communities, particularly at-risk youth in at-risk communities. So those programs and those partnerships, starting, say, for instance, the Ottawa Child and Youth Initiative, I'll just talk about the big ones, which is the CDF, Community Development Framework in Ottawa. There's the OLIP initiative. So all these different types of activities and programs are being offered to address the issues, the disparity and inequity and lack of opportunities for youth and new immigrants, and all of them, like, they have their own partnerships, right? So Ottawa Child and Youth Initiative has 80 members, CDF has several other members, OLIP has a large network. So it's not that there are no partnerships, no activities are happening, but all these are kind of geared towards prevention. There's this merit initiative as well, which so far has been focused on, I would say, merit. So this was focused so far on intervention, but recently it's kind of changed its approach and kind of focusing on prevention as well. But then when it comes to this area of violent extremism, this is mostly the intervention piece, and then law enforcement agencies are dealing with that. I'll just quickly jump to the issues that we have identified, which are kind of positive challenges that we have identified so far. The first gap that we have seen is this gap between the lack of collaboration, coordination, and partnership between the social service sector and the faith agencies. So this is gap number one. Number two, what we have observed is that, like, these social service organizations, they kind of feel that the work that they're doing, the prevention work that they're doing in the communities, this has no direct link to prevention of violent extremism and terrorism. So they consider this field to belong to the law enforcement agencies. So this is a kind of a gap. Some of those are in denial, and some of the organizations just don't understand, or their vested interest or their comfort zone lies in focusing only in whatever they are doing with a very narrow scope. Number three is the lack of any type of a forum or coalition or partnership or a platform that could provide all these organizations an opportunity to look into the bigger picture and to kind of tweak their programs in a way to check or ward off any of the youth or any other individuals slipping into that extreme before the law enforcement get involved. So there's the absence of that forum. That's another big gap. And number four is the financial support, right? So that's number four. Traditionally, all the funders here, they've been investing in these programs and activities, but again, the same mindset, like we are providing this support for addressing the issues that we are facing here for the community safety and keeping youth off the street and increasing high school graduation rates and all those kinds of things. But there is no effort to directly link that work or consider that work as a preventative component of avoiding youth ending up into committing violent and extremist activities or crimes. So that's another gap in terms of the funding. So the funding that's even available from the Public Safety Canada, that's specifically focused on extremism, violent extremism and terrorism. But you can't make any progress there unless the intervention starts right at the beginning, and you engage the community at large. Means all these community service agencies, the faith organizations, the funders, and different levels of government, unless and until they work together and tweak these programs, the existing initiatives, there is no need to reinvent the wheel. So they'll have to build on these programs and develop different strategies with time that would help build on the existing assets and develop new programs and activities that would help youth, which cannot be engaged here at the faith communities level, or even some at the social services sector level, so that they could be engaged and help them avoid getting to the extreme. And the fifth one is data. So there is no meaningful data available about the hate crimes, particularly in Ottawa, so that we could do a comparative assessment of the progress if we get into developing some kind of a collective impact initiative. But how this can actually translate into a collective impact initiative is that if we consider these two, like this is the law enforcement, and intervention. This is the law enforcement and intervention component, and this is the prevention aspect of the initiative. So if we have a forum here where representatives from faith organization, from social service sector, from funders, from different levels of government, if they meet regularly and look into different programs and different activities and build on the existing assets and introduce new programs and activities, then down the road they would help the law enforcement agencies check the evil in the bud. So these would be the two key components. One, we would require to have a formal forum of these organizations so that they could regularly meet and develop different strategies. On the intervention front, we have some initiatives like Married is one of them, which kind of straddles between the two, law enforcement and prevention, intervention and prevention. And also, we'll have to formalize a leadership or champions table or support mechanism, so that the leadership from different agencies or organizations, the mayor, chief of police, and other heads of different organizations, could provide support to these initiatives, this collective impact work, and champion the cause, right? So although I've used the term violent extremism quite extensively in this talk, but I would like to clarify from our partnerships perspective that our partners don't want to, and they don't intend to risk reinforcing a negative attitude towards a specific demographic, like youth I've mentioned here. We actually have decided to equally focus on hate crimes. One, because they can also be an expression of violent extremism. Number two, they are prejudice-motivated crimes targeting victims because of their sex, ethnicity, language, nationality, or religion. And number three, those who are prone to committing hate crimes could be of any age, not necessarily youth. So this broadening of definition would include also white supremacist, violent defenders of racial and ethnic identities who are not all youth, but who are also getting caught up in violent ideologies and practices. So this broadening of focus will help us avoid reinforcing negative stereotypes and also address the root cause that leads to Islamophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, and xenophobia, and also address racism through a wider education and awareness campaign. So that would turn into a very effective collective impact, because we know the common agenda for this, which is to prevent and to counter violent extremism. So that's a single point common agenda. All that we need is to have this forum in place and have constant communication and have a backbone which could be shared between between various organizations, like for instance on the convening of the sector of these partners. United Way is the expert in convening and engaging. So United Way could provide that support in terms of the constant communication and the backbone support in partnership with Merit. On this side, on the intervention side, Merit could also be the lead working with Crime Prevention Ottawa. So that way, we'll have an effective collective impact approach in place to address violent extremism, and that would be a unique opportunity that this city would engage in a very systematic and organized way of addressing this problem. So this is the bigger picture, and the way I wanted to put this video together was to share this information or this bigger picture perspective with those who could not join us in the previous meetings, and also to share with those who have not been engaged so far. So we'll be looking into how things evolve. These are just initial thoughts, and we haven't formalized anything, but hopefully we'll soon formalize something along these lines and achieve the kind of impact that we want around addressing hate crimes and violent extremism in Ottawa.